Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Big Bingy's Theory. So, the Wolverine. I guess I should probably get into my thoughts about the past films in this X-Men series of films that I've seen. I guess I'll start off with the obvious. I'm not much of a comic book guy, as you may have well known by now. Although the X-Men I've known since childhood, thanks to the Fox Kids Saturday morning cartoon lineup that plagued my life ever since I was a kid. You know, with Goosebumps and Beetleborgs and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and this was one of them, was X-Men, and that's how I got introduced to them. That's how I knew who Wolverine was, who Cyclops was, Professor X, all that stuff. So when I first heard about the news of at the time when the first X-Men movie came out, I was really ecstatic. I was so happy to see like these people who I've grown to adore and see them on the big screen for the first time. I was excited for it, and I thought the first movie was good. I had a good time with it. X-Men 2 it blew me away. I honestly think it's a lot better than the first movie. X-Men 3, it's not bad, but it could have been a lot better. Origins. Origins. I'm pretty sure you all know I'm pretty sure you guys already know exactly what I'm talking about with that one, so I'm not going to spare you the details, but suffice to say, I'm not a big fan of it. And X-Men First Class was, in my opinion, not that bad of a movie. Yes, it has its flaws. I'm not going to disagree with anything and say that it doesn't have its flaws. But I still quite enjoy it. I don't hate it as much as like some people do out there. So when I first heard news about a new Wolverine movie coming out, and it's based around a comic book which I've had no experience with, and I know a lot of people have good fond memories of it, and also being a sequel to X-Men 3, I was a little bit scared, and I'm not gonna lie by saying that I didn't go in with high expectations for it. I pretty much knew that this was gonna be, I pretty much had this thought in my head that it was not gonna be good. But I'm going to actually surprise people by saying that this was not a bad film. Really, I look at it as X-Men 3. It's not bad, but it's not good. It's not bad because, for one thing, in Origins, a lot of people have had the problem with it being going after action scene, action scene, 5-minute break, action scene. It would just go on and on. The cycle would continue, and you never really got much of a story out of it. And you get more story into this one, into the kind of psychological torture that Logan puts himself in, and you can feel for the guy. You can honestly feel for the guy, and that's good. That's actually has more character than we've seen from Wolverine than we've seen in the past films. But it also does it kind of weak at the same time, because the beginning of the movie starts off with him living in some wilderness, back alley kind of place. We'll just call it Nebraska. I don't know. I can't remember what town he was in, but he's living by himself. He's a drunk. He's all scraggly beard, looking like Grizzly Adams and everything. So he's all tortured. And he made it very obvious in the beginning of the film that he swore himself that he wasn't going to hurt anybody ever, no matter what. And in the first 15 minutes of the film, I believe, he kind of tosses that out the window, because during one of his time when he was going to town to get a new battery for his radio, he sees a pack of hunters getting ready to go out, and they're the kind of rough housing, play loud country music and start drinking beer and they shoot off like a gun in the middle of the street and everything, and they're just, they're the typical hunting idiots of movies. And during their hunt, Logan sees that Logan hears like a scream from a couple of the hunters, and they appear to be dead. And then he sees a bear that is in pain and is also like suffering from some kind of poison that one of the hunters put into his arrows. And what Logan had to do is he had to put him out of his misery, and then go to the guy and say that this was completely illegal to do. And then when the guy strikes back at him, he's getting ready to takes out his claws, and then you hear him like kind of say, I'm sorry, Gene. And really, the first 15 minutes of it, when you specifically said that you were not going to hurt anybody, no matter what, you're just going to immediately throw that away just because of some douchebag who hits you with a bottle and everything. And I know you can hunt back, and I know you got a temper problem, all that kind of shit, but you made it pretty obvious. And when you kind of just throw that away in the first 15 minutes of the film, it leaves me with a big question mark in my head. And another thing is the whole him being a Ronin, him being a samurai without a master kind of thing. I don't think they really go into depth with that. They don't really say anything about it. They say, yes, he's a samurai without a master and everything. He's learned the art of being a Ronin, but they never really go into in depth about that. They say it, but they don't exactly talk much about it. They do, well, they kind of do at the same time, but they don't really get into much in depth about it. They don't say anything about it. They don't, they just say, yeah, he's a samurai pretty much. It's, whatever. That's about it. They never really go into depth into it. And I'm actually going to say, I have to agree with one reviewer that I watch, where he said on his Twitter that he said that Ghost Dog, Way of the Samurai, is a better The Wolverine movie than The Wolverine, or a better Ronin movie than The Wolverine is, because at least that goes into the depth of him being a samurai without a master. The beliefs that the Ronin goes through, the choices, everything. This one just seems like he's just doing it because, well, he's fucking Wolverine. Why not? So that to me was kind of a weak point, and also the third act of the film. Wow. Very, very cartoony, very Saturday morning cartoony kind of thing. And I understand they want to appeal to that kind of audience, but to appeal to the audience that, are young kids, because let's face it, it's mostly young kids, like, young 16 to like 8-year-old kids are going to go check this out because, well, it's Wolverine, Wolverine's a badass. So they want to try to have like that cartoony, like, everything's going to be fine, the hero will save the day kind of third act, and it just didn't really work out for me. It just felt very cartoony, and the whole Silver Samurai thing, which, that whole Silver Samurai thing was ridiculous. And I know a lot of people have said that there's a problem with the Silver Samurai because, well, they've read the comics, and it's not exactly up to, to the adaptation of a comic book, which by now shouldn't surprise anybody. If you're expecting something to be as faithful to a book or anything else, you are fucking kidding yourselves, because there's nothing there. You can't expect every single adaptation of a comic book, a video game, or anything else to be more to have every single little detail from that thing to a movie. You can't expect anything more than that. You expect maybe 60-50%, but anything above that, it's asking way too much. But for those that don't want to be spoiled and everything with why I didn't really care much about the third act, just skip ahead. I don't know how long it's going to be, but I'll try to keep it brief as much as I can. So it turns out that the Silver Samurai was not only a huge robot and his armor is made of adamantium, but it turns out that he is also the guy that was going to give Wolverine his mortality back, the Yashida guy, because he's Logan in the middle of fighting him. He takes out his armor, but with the help of his own little samurai sword, and then he looks under, and then he sees Yashida inside the body armor of the Silver Samurai, and it's that cartoony him. It's that cartoony. You thought that the guy was dead because he was slowly dying, but now it turns out that he's alive, and he wants Logan's healing regeneration power all to himself. It's that kind of cartoony stuff that I just can't get behind anymore. It can work to a point. There can be a lot of silliness that I can take, but when it's this kind of silliness, I can't really just get myself involved in it. So, but I say that it's not bad either because, well, like I said, it gets more into the character of the Wolverine, and that's it. And that's all I really wanted. I didn't want more of, action scene after action scene after action scene. I wanted more character development of the Wolverine, and this movie does it well. This movie does it pretty good. And I think the movie, the location itself, Tokyo and everything, looks beautiful. I would love to go to Tokyo one day. And it's a nice, good looking movie. Don't see it in 3D though. There's really no difference for you to watch it in 3D because my God, there was really nothing coming at you or anything like that. You might have like a part where the movie or the screen will have like maybe Logan's shoulder popping out right at you when he's just like going like this. So that's about it. That's like a shoulder in 3D. Ooh. That's about it. But and also they do a nice little teaser for Ghosts of Futures or Days of Futures Past, which is pretty awesome. So if you go check this movie out, stick around during the credits. You're not going to be disappointed about that. But yeah, I would say if you want to check this movie out, check it out when it comes out on DVD. I wouldn't recommend seeing this in the theater. It's not a bad experience, but it could have been a whole lot better. So that's about it. I can't really, I like I said, just check it out when it comes out on DVD. You might have some fun with it. You might not. Just don't be expecting something as faithful to an adaptation as the Wolverine is. So I'm going to be doing... So that's about it in terms of movies, but I feel like I want to tell you guys a little something else that I checked out this week that needs to be addressed. And that is a movie that didn't come out here in the theater, but you can download it or you can watch it on demand. I wanted to talk about this. I wanted to do an episode of this before, but I figured I should wait until I talk about the Wolverine. I wanted to talk about Only God Forgives. Now, this comes from the guy who written and directed Drive, which I think is one of the best sleeper hits of 2012 for me by far, or it could have been a couple years before, but anyway. But yeah, Drive I really, really like. I think it's a really good movie. It's like a very 80s-esque kind of a movie, and it has a lot of things that you don't really see in a lot of movies nowadays, and it has a great brooding badass character. I know a lot of people don't like Ryan Gosling's way of acting, but in this case, in terms of Drive, it works for his character. The direction was really good. It's a good-looking movie. Has a great cast. Albert Brooks was fantastic in this movie. I really think he should have gotten an Academy Award for it, for his performance. The music was outstanding. I mean, seriously, I have never heard any kind of great 80s like techno kind of music ever in my life. Like, if it's right next to Miami Connection, Drive would be there because it's just that good, and it's that it will get some of the songs in that movie would get stuck in your head. So So, in essence, I was really looking forward to seeing this movie based on the trailers because it looked really good. It looked like another kind of 80s-esque movie, but this time set in Thailand. And the cinematography looked beautiful. The music was awesome. It looked really good. So, I have to say, I was really disappointed with this movie. So much so that I got pissed off. This movie is nothing but emotionless face for 89 minutes of screen time. Like, really, this was just unbearable to watch half the time because there was no in-depth character moments. There was not a good story. I had no compassion for anything. I had no motivation for anybody. I really did not care about anything in this movie. If anything, the only positive things I could say about this movie is that it looks pretty and the music can be good to a point. But that's about it. This movie is seriously one of the most disappointing films I have seen this entire year. And the whole story for this movie is that you're watching Ryan Gosling as a drug dealer, which the movie itself does not give you any context of because, well, Ryan Gosling in this movie is a complete fucking emotionless draw. Nothing. If you thought Drive was bad, you haven't seen this movie. But literally, it's his emotion throughout this entire movie is just this. And that's it. That's really all that his character is. He might say a few lines of dialogue, but that's about it. The other characters, it's baffling. My God. So the whole movie is talking about Ryan Gosling as a drug dealer in Thailand who has a brother who goes out in the middle of the night and wants to find a young Taiwanese kind of hooker. That's all he's looking for is a hooker. And he finds one that's like about maybe 14, 15 years old, I believe. And so what he does is he takes her, he rapes her, and murders her. And when the police find out, they get their sword-wielding commander, which, again, you wouldn't know by watching this movie because the guy doesn't say anything throughout this entire movie. Oh, he might sing. He does sing in this movie, but that's about it. But yeah, every time he comes around, you just see him wielding a freaking sword everywhere he goes. But he goes to the place. He sees the body of the young girl who's dead, and the guy's sitting there, and the brother's sitting there just on the bed, just like all drenched in blood and everything. So what the lieutenant does, he gets the father of the little girl, and he brings him over to the apartment, and he tells the guy, "This is the guy that killed your brother. This is the guy that killed your young daughter. Do with him what you want." So when he leaves, of course, the father kills him. Who wouldn't? And then the lieutenant was actually kind of baffled by what he decided to do because he thought he was just going to be, just like maybe do a beating or something like that, or maybe do a stern talking to him. But he was quite surprised by the outcome, to a point where he takes him out to a nearby like construction site place that's completely deserted. And then he berates on the father by telling him, "Why did you let your daughter go into this kind of business? Why didn't you stop her? Blah, 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 blah." Okay, well, why? And then, as a punishment for what he did, he takes out his sword and he cuts the guy's arm. He cuts the guy's arm off. Really? Really? You're telling me in this kind of situation, if you had a daughter who got raped and murdered, if you found the guy that did this to your daughter, would you not have the hesitation? Would you not have like the anything to want to just beat the living shit out of him, possibly kill him? You have justice to it. You have the justice to be able to do that kind of stuff. So why tell a guy to do with him what you want, but when he does something that he does want to do, you berate him by telling him, why didn't you let your daughter get out of that kind of business, blah 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 blah. It's like come on, really? I understand you want to tell your own father, like, you should have stopped her before she's gotten into this, otherwise she would have not been killed or whatever. It's like, that kind of whole thing. It's just, I really couldn't get behind this. So literally the whole movie is about Ryan Gosling and his mother, played by Kristen Scott Thomas, who puts a lot more emotion to this movie than anything. They want to find the guy who killed him, and kill him himself. So we're left with a movie about feeling sorry about a guy who raped and murdered a little girl, a young woman, and we're supposed to feel sorry for them. We're supposed to feel sympathy for them. I'm sorry. No. You have no clear motivation for this movie whatsoever. You're not leaving me to a point where I'm going to be feeling sorry for a rapist and a murderer. I'm sorry, you're not. And hell, even Ryan Gosling's character agrees that he could have got that he got what he deserved. But of course his mother was just, like, we can't allow this. He killed your own brother, and if the tables were turned, your brother would bring me his head on a platter and all that kind of stuff. It's just like, give me a fucking break. No, I am not feeling sorry for this son of a bitch. He can go fucking rot in hell for all I care. He can get anally raped by fucking demons for all I care. I don't give a shit about him. So why should I, movie? Why are you telling me to feel sorry for a guy like that? I'm not. You're not making me fall for it, and don't give me your bullshit symbolism thing to make me feel like I have to, like, there's more to this movie than what I'm seeing. All I see in this movie is nothing more than than just horrible people. This movie is just full of horrible people who I wish death upon, and I'm supposed to feel sorry for them. No. And you put a little symbolism in there. Symbolism don't mean jack shit if your story does not work with me. It doesn't. You know what? Actually had better symbolism? I'm going to show you what better had symbolism. You want to know what had better symbolism than you Only God Forgives? Fucking Puppet Master 3. That had a good story and people I can get behind than your movie, and had better symbolism than you. And you want to know what Puppet Master 3 is? It's set in World War II, during a guy who has some kind of ancient Egyptian power to bring these puppets to life. And he's trying to live a life, he's making kids happy. That's all he does. He has a loving wife, and he has puppets who care about him, who would do anything for him. And so here comes the Nazi regime. Like, they want to know what kind of power he has, to a point where they go over to his place, they tear down his place, and they're going to take the puppets and him and his wife prisoner. And when his wife refuses, the Nazi general shoots his wife down, and she's dead. And that gives him clear motivation to get revenge on him. There, you have sympathy for a person who was just doing his daily life. You have a villain who is a Nazi, and you have little puppets who, again, show more emotion than anybody in this, and than anybody in Only God Forgives. And you know what? It had a great symbolism moment for you. Here's your symbolism, Only God Forgives. Near the end of the movie, when the puppet master does get the Nazi general who was responsible for shooting his wife, what he does is he has one of the big hand puppets dress him down, punch him, weaken him, to a point where the puppet master brings over some hooks and everything, and hooks it up to his legs and to his arm, and he ties up a rope, and he strains him up, And there's a great moment in the movie, like the camera just, it's a great image of this guy, of the Nazi general, just holding up and looking like a puppet. That is the power of symbolism in this movie. That is great symbolism there. So, yeah, I'm going to say it, and I will take this to the grave with me. Puppet Master 3 is better than Only God Forgives. So, I can't recommend Only God Forgives. If you want a good movie, if you want an actually not bad movie, go check out Puppet Master 3 than Only God Forgives. Only God Forgives will just leave you with with just bewilderment as to what you've just watched. So, if you want to, then more power to you. Like, I feel, go ahead and watch it, but I'm telling you ahead of time, do not be surprised if you do not like this movie. Because I really didn't like this movie. I fucking hated this movie. So, that's about it, people. What's next week? Well, I think Smurfs 2 is next week. But I really don't know if I want to watch it. I mean, I know I've watched Turbo, and that's a kid's movie, but hell, at least I'm pretty sure I like that a lot more than I would like Smurfs. So, who knows, but you know me, I gotta watch something next week. So yeah, that's about it, people. So until next time, this is Big Bingy, signing out.